On the behalf of Director Professor R.K. Dhiman and the employees of Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow, it is my privilege to welcome you all to the 38th Foundation Day of the Institute. May I request this distinguished gathering to switch off their cell phones or put them on silent mode. Thank you. I would like to invite our esteemed guest on the dais, chief guest for today's function, Shri Rajendra Kumar Tiwari ji, President SGPGIMS and Chief Secretary of Government of Uttar Pradesh. I would request Professor R.K. Dhiman, Director SGPGIMS, to kindly escort the chief guest to the dais. I would request Professor Anish Srivastava, Dean SGPGIMS, to escort Shri Alok Kumar, Principal Secretary, Medical Education Department, Government of Uttar Pradesh, to the dais. May I request the chief guest of the ceremony to grant us permission to start the today's proceedings. Thank you, sir. We welcome our guest with token of gratitude. I request Professor R.K. Dhiman to kindly present a memento to our chief guest, Shri Rajendra Kumar Tiwari. May I request Professor Anish Srivastava to kindly present a memento to Shri Alok Kumar. Thank you, sir. On this solemn occasion, to dispel the darkness, my request all our honorable dignitaries on the dais to kindly light the lamp as a tribute to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. No academic program can be solemnized without the blessing of Goddess Saraswati. As a tribute to Ma Saraswati, by Saraswati Vanna, we pray for her blessings with all humanity to give us knowledge.
शारदे माँ अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। तू स्वर की देवी, संगीत तुझसे हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे, तू स्वर की देवी, संगीत तुझसे। हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे। हम हैं अकेले, हम हैं अधूरे, तेरी शरण हम, हमें प्यार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। मुनियों ने समझी, गुनियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा, पुराणों की बानी। मुनियों ने समझी, गुनियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा, पुराणों की बानी। हम भी तो समझे, हम भी तो जाने, विद्या का हमको अधिकार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। तू श्वेत वर्णी कमल पर विराजे, हाथों में वीणा मुकुट सर पे साजे। तू श्वेत वर्णी कमल पर विराजे, हाथों में वीणा मुकुट सर पे साजे। मन से हमारे मिटा के अंधेरे, हमको उजालों का संसार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ।
On this historical day, about 38 years ago, on 14 December, a foundation stone of our institute was laid by then Honorable President of India, Shri Neelam Sanjeev Reddy. The Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, a tertiary care referral institute which provides teaching, training, patient care, and research, was established in 1983 under an act of Uttar Pradesh State Legislature. Since then, this institute has been scaling new heights and creating footprints of excellence. This is the day for the institute to acknowledge the milestones achieved so far, the enormous strides made in the various fields of patient care, training, teaching, and research. It is with pleasure that I invite our director of our institute, Professor R.K. Dhiman, to welcome the August gathering and give an overview of the institute's activities over the last 1 year.
Thank you. मंच पर मौजूद गणमान्य जन, माननीय मुख्य सचिव उत्तर प्रदेश एवं अध्यक्ष XGPGI और आज के समारोह के मुख्य अतिथि श्री राजेंद्र कुमार तिवारी जी, स्थापना दिवस वक्ता व कछार कैंसर हॉस्पिटल और अनुसंधान संस्थान सिलचर असम के निदेशक पद्मश्री डॉक्टर R. रविकानंद जी, प्रमुख सचिव चिकित्सा शिक्षा उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार IAS श्री आलोक कुमार जी, संकाय अध्यक्ष SGPGI प्रोफेसर अनीश श्रीवास्तव जी व संस्थान के सभी संकाय सदस्य, नर्सिंग स्टाफ, संस्थान के अन्य कर्मचारी व अधिकारीगण, रेजिडेंट डॉक्टर्स, सम्माननीय अतिथिगण, प्रेस और मीडिया के सम्माननीय सदस्य, देवियों और सज्जनों, संस्थान के 38वें स्थापना दिवस में मैं आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत और अभिनंदन करता हूं और आपको इस अवसर पर उपस्थित होकर समारोह की सेवा शोभा बढ़ाने के लिए धन्यवाद देता हूं। मैं उन सभी का ऋणी हूं जो कोविड महामारी के कारण सीमित संख्या में प्रत्यक्ष उपस्थिति की बाध्यता को समझते हुए इस समारोह में वर्चुअल उपस्थित हुए हैं। मैं उन सभी का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। इस संस्थान की नींव 1983 में रखी गई थी। तब से आज तक इन 38 वर्षों में संस्थान ने राष्ट्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय दोनों स्तरों पर रोगी चिकित्सा सेवा, शिक्षण, प्रशिक्षण और अनुसंधान की सभी क्षेत्रों में अपनी उपस्थिति दर्ज कराई है। वर्ष 2021 संपूर्ण मानव जाति के लिए चुनौतीपूर्ण रहा है। चिकित्सा समुदाय इससे विशेष रूप से प्रभावित हुआ है। कोविड की पहली लहर के दौरान सीखे गए सबक ने हमें बहुत आगे बढ़ाया और संस्थान ने दूसरी और भी अधिक विनाशकारी कोविड लहर का सफलतापूर्वक सामना किया। नए वेरिएंट ओमिक्रॉन के साथ अब तीसरी लहर भी दरवाजे पर खड़ी है। मुझे विश्वास है कि हम अपनी पूरी चिकित्सा क्षमता के साथ इससे निपटने में सक्षम होंगे। इसके साथ ही संस्थान ने शैक्षणिक वर्ष 2021 में दिन प्रतिदिन के शैक्षणिक और अनुसंधान क्षेत्रों में नई ऊंचाइयों को छुआ और नए आयाम जोड़े, जिनमें से मैं कुछ में प्रकाश डालना चाहूंगा। 328 बिस्तरों वाले आरसीएस सुविधा में स्वास्थ्य कर्मियों के लिए 72 समर्पित बिस्तर शामिल थे, क्योंकि स्वास्थ्य कर्मी और उनके परिवार भी दूसरी लहर में बड़ी संख्या में बीमार हो रहे थे। स्वास्थ्य कर्मियों को हेल्थ केयर वर्कर, वेलनेस कमेटी और निगरानी टीमों की तैनाती ने इस लहर के दौरान हमारे बीमार कर्मचारियों और उनके आश्रितों की काफी मदद की। माइक्रोबायोलॉजी परीक्षण सुविधा ने 27 लाख से अधिक RT-PCR परीक्षण करके अनुकरणीय सेवा की। अभी भी यह परीक्षण निरंतर 24 घंटे एवं साल के 365 दिन किया जा रहा है। दूसरी लहर ने स्वास्थ्य सेवा पर अपना प्रतिकूल असर डाला। अनियंत्रित डायबिटीज की पृष्ठभूमि में स्टेरॉयड के उपयोग ने म्यूकरमाइकोसिस के केस ने बोझ को और बढ़ा दिया। यहाँ मैं यह जरूर बताना चाहूंगा कि ये सभी मामले दूसरे केंद्रों से हमें भेजे गए थे। इन मामलों को संभालने के लिए एक अलग ICU और एक वार्ड बनाया गया था। इन रोगियों के प्रबंधन के लिए ENT विशेषज्ञ, नेत्र रोग विशेषज्ञ, न्यूरोसर्जन्स, माइक्रोबायोलॉजिस्ट, पल्मोनोलॉजिस्ट, इंटेंसिविस्ट एंड एनेस्थीसियोलॉजिस्ट सहित समर्पित मल्टी स्पेशलिटी टीम बनाई गई थी। कोविड की दोनों वेव्स के दौरान भी आपातकालीन चिकित्सा व शल्य चिकित्सा, कैंसर, डायलिसिस, हृदय रोग संबंधी इमरजेंसी, थैलेसीमिया रोगियों का ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूजन व नवजात शिशुओं के जन्म संबंधी आपातकालीन सेवाएं यथावत जारी रही। उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार द्वारा SGPGI के निदेशक को कोविड संक्रमण की रोकथाम व उपचार हेतु कोविड-19 स्टेट एडवाइजरी कमेटी के अध्यक्ष के रूप में दायित्व सौंपा गया। हम सभी विशेषज्ञों ने के सहयोग से सरकार को कोविड संक्रमण के उत्कृष्ट प्रबंधन हेतु विशेषज्ञता प्रदान कर पाए। SGPGI ने बरेली, कानपुर, झांसी, आगरा, मेरठ, प्रयागराज व अन्य केंद्रों में स्थापित कोविड सेवा केंद्रों में विशेषज्ञों के भ्रमण के द्वारा कोविड गुणवत्ता सेवा को बढ़ाने में मदद की। संपूर्ण प्रदेश में स्थापित कोविड अस्पतालों में संस्थान द्वारा स्थापित प्रोटोकॉल का अनुकरण किया गया। SARS-CoV-2 के विरुद्ध टीकाकरण को भी बढ़ाया गया, क्योंकि आने वाले बदलते संक्रमण की तीसरी लहर को रोकने का यही एकमात्र रास्ता हो सकता है। हमारा अनुभव रहा है कि टीकाकृत व्यक्ति उन व्यक्तियों की तुलना में जिन्होंने वैक्सीन नहीं लगवाई थी, कम संक्रमित हुए और रोग की गंभीरता भी कम रही। उत्तर प्रदेश राज्य में अब तक 17 करोड़ से ज्यादा लोगों को वैक्सीनेशन किया जा चुका है। संस्थान के यूरोलॉजी, सर्जिकल गैस्ट्रोएंटरोलॉजी, CTVS और एंडोक्राइन सर्जरी विभागों में रोबोटिक सर्जरी कार्यक्रम भी प्रारंभ किया गया है। दिनांक 6 अगस्त 2021 को उत्तर प्रदेश राज्य का प्रथम रोबोटिक गुर्दा प्रत्यारोपण PGI संस्थान में किया गया। ये बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है। शैक्षणिक गतिविधियां, SGPGI में वर्तमान में 32 शैक्षणिक विभाग और 249 संकाय सदस्य हैं। संस्थान अनेक विषयों में डीएम, एमसीएच, एमडी, पीएचडी की उपाधियां प्रदान करता है। पिछले शैक्षणिक वर्ष 2020-21 में 247 छात्र एवं छात्राओं ने भारत के महामहिम राष्ट्रपति श्री रामनाथ कोविंद जी से संस्थान के दीक्षांत समारोह में उपाधियां प्राप्त की। इस वर्ष प्रारंभ अथवा स्वीकृत होने वाले नवीन शैक्षणिक पाठ्यक्रम निम्नलिखित हैं: एमडी इमरजेंसी मेडिसिन एंड ऑप्थेल्मोलॉजी, पीडीसीसी ब्रेस्ट सर्जरी, रेडिएशन ऑन्कोलॉजी में आधुनिक तकनीक, पैलिएटिव ऑन्कोलॉजी, स्लीप मेडिसिन, पीडीएएफ पीडियाट्रिक ऑन्को सर्जरी एंड पीडियाट्रिक मिनिमल एक्सेस सर्जरी, एमएससी इन रेडियो फार्मेसी एवं मॉलिक्यूलर इमेजिंग। शोध। संस्थान ने वैज्ञानिक शोध के क्षेत्र में भी उल्लेखनीय प्रगति की है। यहाँ सदैव ही हाई क्वालिटी क्लिनिकल एवं बेसिक रिसर्च को महत्व दिया गया है। यहाँ के संकाय सदस्यों ने अब तक 6000 से अधिक शोध पत्रों का प्रकाशन किया है। वर्ष 2020-21 में कोविड महामारी के बाद भी संकाय के सदस्य 2.8 करोड़ की एक्स्ट्राम्यूरल ग्रांट लाने में सफल रहे। साथ ही उनके द्वारा 4 मल्टी सेंट्रिक ड्रग डिवाइस ट्रायल भी लाई गई। मैं उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार को अपना आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं कि उन्होंने इंट्राम्यूरल फंडिंग के जरिए वैज्ञानिक शोध के संवर्धन के लिए स्वेच्छा से ही बजट को बढ़ाया है। राज्य सरकार द्वारा 2020-21 में कुल 1.3 करोड़ की राशि के द्वारा 28 प्रोजेक्ट में सहयोग दिया गया है। संस्थान का द्वितीय शोध दिवस। शोध को संकाय सदस्यों और रेजिडेंट चिकित्सकों के मध्य प्रमुखता से स्थापित करने हेतु 13 दिसंबर 2020 को संस्थान का प्रथम शोध दिवस मनाया गया। इस परंपरा का निर्वहन करते हुए कल हमने अपना दूसरा शोध दिवस मनाया, जिसमें दोनों संकाय सदस्य एवं विद्यार्थियों द्वारा भाग लिया गया। उत्कृष्ट शोध पत्रों को सुप्रसिद्ध जजों की टीम द्वारा चुना गया, जिन्हें आज के समारोह के दौरान हमारे मुख्य अतिथि द्वारा सम्मानित किया जाएगा। प्रशासनिक कागज रहित कार्यालय ई ऑफिस। संस्थान एक कागज रहित कार्यालय की दिशा में प्रयासरत है, जिससे प्रशासनिक कार्यों की दक्षता और गति को बढ़ाया जा सके। इस ई ऑफिस को 1 सितंबर से औपचारिक रूप से स्थापित किया गया है। संस्थान के कर्मचारियों से संबंधित मुद्दे। एक लंबे से चली आ रही कर्मचारियों की लंबित मांगे, जिसमें एम्स नई दिल्ली के समतुल्य कैडर रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग का मुद्दा था। मुझे आपको यह बताते हुए खुशी हो रही है कि पिछले सप्ताह ही गवर्निंग बॉडी द्वारा अनुमोदित कर दिया गया है। इसके साथ ही अन्य लंबित मांगे जैसे डीपीसी, एसीपीएस, एमएसीपीएस इत्यादि मुद्दों को भी सफलतापूर्वक निस्तारित कर दिया गया है। टेली आईसीयू के निर्माण हेतु इंडियन पावर ग्रिड कॉरपोरेशन व एसजीपीजीआई के मध्य मेमोरेंडम ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी लगभग पूर्णता की ओर है। इसके अंतर्गत हब एंड स्पोक मॉडल पर आधारित एक टेली आईसीयू का निर्माण होगा, जिसमें संस्थान एक हब के तौर पर उत्तर प्रदेश के 6 पुराने मेडिकल कॉलेजों, जिसमें गोरखपुर, कानपुर, प्रयागराज, मेरठ, झांसी और आगरा शामिल हैं, को जोड़ा जाएगा। इस टेली आईसीयू नेटवर्क की स्थापना के द्वारा गंभीर रूप से बीमार रोगियों को उनके शहर में ही उनके घर के पास उत्कृष्ट चिकित्सा सुविधा प्रदान की जाएगी। भारत के किसी भी राज्य में इस तरह का यह पहला टेली आईसीयू होगा। STPI सॉफ्टवेयर टेक्नोलॉजी पार्क ऑफ इंडिया। मेडिकल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक विभाग एवं हेल्थ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स विभाग एक साथ मिलकर एक सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस स्थापित करने की दिशा में कार्यरत हैं। कार्य पूर्ण हो चुका है एवं 18 दिसंबर 2021 को इसका उद्घाटन किया जाएगा। इसके द्वारा मेडिकल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स के क्षेत्र में टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड स्टार्टअप्स को स्थापित व विकसित किया जाएगा। 29 जून 2021 को IIT कानपुर और स्कूल ऑफ टेलीमेडिसिन SGPGI के बीच एक MOU पर हस्ताक्षर किए गए। इसके द्वारा टेलीमेडिसिन एंड हेल्थ केयर रोबोटिक में एक सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस की स्थापना की जाएगी। इसके द्वारा ग्रामीण व दूर दराज के क्षेत्रों में स्वास्थ्य परीक्षण और निरीक्षण हेतु कम लागत से बने कियोस्क विकसित किए जाएंगे। आने वाले नवीन केंद्र और कार्यक्रम मुझे आपको अवगत कराते हुए अत्यंत ही प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि संस्थान की बहुप्रतीक्षित परियोजना एयर एम्बुलेंस सेवा से युक्त इमरजेंसी मेडिसिन एंड रीनल ट्रांसप्लांट सेंटर के इसी माह दिसंबर 2021 के अंत तक आरंभ होने की संभावना है। एडवांस डायबिटिक सेंटर, जहां एक ही छत के नीचे समस्त डायबिटीज चिकित्सा सेवा की सुविधा होगी, का कार्य प्रारंभ हो गया है। उत्तर प्रदेश राज्य के किसी भी निवासी को ऐसे उपचार के लिए राज्य के बाहर नहीं जाना पड़ेगा। हेपेटोलॉजी विभाग का प्रारंभ हो चुका है। इससे संस्थान के लीवर प्रत्यारोपण कार्यक्रम को मदद मिलेगी। सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस फॉर इन्फेक्शियस डिजीजेस एंड वैक्सीन डेवलपमेंट के भी बहुत ही शीघ्र आने की संभावना है। रेयर जेनेटिक डिजीजेस के लिए एसजीपीजीआई के मेडिकल जेनेटिक्स विभाग को केंद्रीय सरकार के द्वारा सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस घोषित किया गया है। स्टेट ऑर्गन टिश्यू ट्रांसप्लांटेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सोटो द्वारा अंगदान जागरूकता का कार्यक्रम को प्रारंभ किया गया है, जिसके अंतर्गत कई जागरूकता कार्यक्रम और पोस्टर प्रतियोगिताएं आयोजित की गई। लिवर एंड हृदय प्रत्यारोपण के लिए संस्थान से प्रत्यारोपण टीमों को प्रशिक्षण के लिए ILBS न्यू दिल्ली और MGM हॉस्पिटल चेन्नई में भी भेजा गया। यह ट्रांसप्लांट प्रोग्राम को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए जरूरी था। उत्तर प्रदेश की माननीय राज्यपाल श्रीमती आनंदी पटेल जी के निर्देशों के अनुसार मोहनलालगंज तहसील में स्तन व सर्वाइकल कैंसर के अतिशीघ्र निदान का कार्यक्रम प्रारंभ किया गया है। विजन ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूट। उत्तर प्रदेश राज्य में हर प्रकार की स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं उपलब्ध होनी चाहिए, जिससे किसी भी व्यक्ति को राज्य से बाहर ना जाना पड़े। ऐसा हमारा चिकित्सा शिक्षा मंत्री ऑनरेबल श्री सुरेश खन्ना जी का मानना है और हम उसी दिशा में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। राज्य की 40% जनसंख्या बच्चों की है, अतः राज्य में इस आयु वर्ग के लिए सभी प्रकार की सेवाएं जैसे एडवांस पीडियाट्रिक्स सेंटर की स्थापना होनी चाहिए। अंत में मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देते हुए उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार को हमें निरंतर सहयोग देने के लिए एक बार फिर हार्दिक धन्यवाद देता हूं। मुझे विश्वास है कि उत्तर प्रदेश के मुख्य सचिव एवं संस्थान के अध्यक्ष श्री राजेंद्र कुमार तिवारी जी एवं प्रमुख सचिव चिकित्सा शिक्षा श्री आलोक कुमार जी हमें इस तरह अपना सहयोग देते रहेंगे, जिससे हम राज्य की जनता को बेहतर सेवाएं प्रदान कर सकें। मैं इस बात को फिर दोहराना चाहता हूं कि हम सभी अपने कैरियर के चाहे किसी भी चरण में हो, हमेशा उत्कृष्ट सेवाएं प्रदान करने, प्रशिक्षित मानव शक्ति उत्पन्न करने व स्वास्थ्य क्षेत्र में उत्कृष्ट शोध के लिए सदैव प्रतिबद्ध रहेंगे। मैं एक बार फिर से समारोह की शोभा बढ़ाने के लिए आप सबको धन्यवाद करता हूं। नमस्कार, जय हिंद।
Thank you, sir, for the warm welcome extended by you and highlighting the achievements of our institute and showing the path ahead. Now, I would request Professor Anish Srivastava, Dean SGPGI MS, to introduce esteemed orator of today's ceremony, Padma Shri Dr. Ravi Kanan R, Director of Kachar Cancer Hospital and Research Center, Silchar, Assam.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Padma Shri Dr. Ravi Kannan, who is basically a graduate from the Kilpauk Medical College, Chennai, and later trained in surgery from the Maulana Azad Medical College in Delhi. Following this, he had a long inning up to 2008 in Adyar Cancer Institute, where he developed passion to treat the cancer patients. It was then that Dr. Kanan visited this Kachar Cancer Hospital for the first time in Assam, and he felt that probably his services were more required in the far-flung areas than the cities of this country. Then he convinced his wife, and the family moved to this place located in Assam, in Silchar, to provide cancer care for these patients. The path was obviously not easy, and we'll learn more and more today from him about his journey. For this exemplary work, he received Mahavir Award in Medicine in 2013, and in 2020, he was awarded Padma Shri for the exemplary work. He's a perfect blend of magnanimity and humanity, for whom the service to mankind is the ultimate aim. Ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries on the dais, may I request and introduce him to this august audience for his describing his journey and giving the words of wisdom. Dr. Kanan, please.
Thank you very much. Please accept greetings and best wishes from Assam for all of you at the SGPGI on the occasion of the 38th Foundation Day. I would like to thank Dr. Dhiman, Dr. Srivastav, Dr. Tapas, and all the others for giving me this opportunity to participate in this function and make this possible. I would also like to thank Dr. Srivastav for his very effusive introduction. I'm not sure I am all that he mentioned. I was requested by Dr. Dhiman to talk about community interventions that we practice in Silchar. And so I want to talk about introducing PEP into the community. PEP standing for Primary Prevention, Early Detection, and Palliative Care. Subhadra Gwala is my colleague who helped me put together the presentation and much of the material. So all of us know that cancers are caused by tobacco and areca nut, by alcohol, by dietary factors, lack of physical activity, and untreated infections. This cluster of causes accounts for about 70% of all cancers in the country and a whole lot of other non-communicable diseases as well. So 2018, we saw about 11.5 lakh new cancers, more than 70% of whom died eventually. And in 2020, the figure is almost 14 lakh cancers. And I think the estimate of 15.7 by 2025 will probably be reached much earlier. If we look at the spectrum of the presentation of the cancers, most cancers present in advanced stages. Lung cancers often present with metastatic disease, and lung cancer is the commonest cancer in men in this country. In my own place in Silchar, more than 80% of patients present with T3, T4 diseases. Now, the National Cancer Control Program was converted into a national program for control of diabetes, for control of cancers, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and stroke in the early part of the last decade. And in 2015-2016, about 1.3 crore people were screened, of whom 8%, nearly 10 lakhs, were diagnosed to be diabetics. About 12 lakhs were diagnosed to be hypertensive. Ischemic heart disease was not looked at in this story. And about 90,000 patients were diagnosed to have cardiovascular disease. Only 13,000 patients were identified with cancer. For every cancer we diagnose, there is tenfold, more than tenfold incidence of other non-communicable diseases. Now, health must be considered as a national asset, and it should be a fundamental right. We have a whole lot of medical colleges. We have dental colleges, we have nursing colleges, we have pharmacy colleges, and innumerable education institutions. Unfortunately, there is no structured program for health promotion, preventive health, and in the early part of the spectrum, and palliative care towards the latter part of the spectrum, except for community medicine programs, often in academic departments, and palliative care mainly focused around cancer centers in the country. And all of these are opportunities that we have to promote health in the community. And promoting health, I think, is a national responsibility. I work in a small town called Silchar in the south of Assam. And like many parts of the country, we also have our own problems. You know, we have problems with transport, problems with communication, there is poverty, there are areas which are very difficult to access. There are areas where there is no transport possible. And when often patients are sick, their relatives will fashion a hammock, sling it across a bamboo, and carry the patient for miles till they come to the nearest transport facility. There are several areas, you know, where we have to traverse by boat and then walk for miles in order to reach a hamlet. But also, it's a beautiful part of the country. Ronald Ross, many of you may not be aware, Ronald Ross won the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 1902. He started his malaria work in a small tea garden hospital not far from Silchar. His microscope, hand drawings are all still preserved in the tea garden hospital. And it is actually very inspiring. It is actually, you know, it will give you goosebumps to think that a man with just his brain and a microscope, basic microscope, could change the face of history around the world. Now, early on, we realized, you know, most of our patients do not come more than 70% of patients do not complete prescribed treatment. More than half of them don't even come for a second visit. And we had to resort to a whole lot of measures in order to help them complete treatment, to comply with treatment instructions. But more importantly, we had to resort to several confidence building measures, which is what I want to talk of. I am not intending to talk of what we did for improving patient compliance, but we had to get into the community, make friends, instill confidence, inspire trust in order to make them come into the hospital. And so in the early years, you know, we would every weekend we would be out in the community. We would, you know, go to every part of the region, conducting camps, talking in schools, conducting, you know, mock plays, you know, going on rallies, you know, several, you name a strategy, and we adopted all of those strategies. And then we realized that it was not getting us anywhere. You know, when we go to a camp, kids as small as 3 months to elderly people, 80, 90 years would come, and most of them would have a whole lot of non-cancer problems. There would be pre-cancer that we would identify, and they would not come for treatment. And so, you know, we realized carrying out sporadic camps like these, going into the community, did not help anybody. And so we took a policy decision of not doing camps, but doing structured programs around geographically defined areas where we could actually collect data and assess impact of what we were doing. And so we started off with, see, the national government declared their policy for health and wellness promotion, and they declared a policy, they laid down guidelines for screening of common cancers and other NCDs. The whole idea hinged around ASHA mobilizing the community and taking them to a health center for necessary evaluation. But to our mind, this policy was flawed because the numbers were against the system. Each subcenter has about a population of about 10,000, and each ASHA has a population of 1,000 under her, and the sub-center has 2 ANM. And if 1,000 people or 2,000 people or 5,000 people or 10,000 people have to go to the sub-center, the ASHA will not, the ANM will not be able to handle the load because they have a whole lot of other responsibilities. And then people who are well will not bother about going for examination simply because they all work for daily wages and they cannot be bothered about going and standing in queues in hospitals to be examined when they perceive themselves to be well. So we designed a program where we said we would train ASHA to carry out screening. This was a departure from the norm. And the second thing was we said we will do the screening in the homes of the population. So we selected a health block which had a population of about 2 lakhs and 68,000 was the screen eligible population. We had 200 ASHA to work with. And we had to answer several very important questions. Would the ASHA be willing to participate? Would the ASHA be able to do it? Will they be trainable? Will the community accept the ASHA in this role? And is home screening really feasible? We had to face a barrage of criticism for all of this. And so we created a strategy. We developed a mobile application in order to help the ASHA collect information. We trained the ASHA. The ASHA were not trained to diagnose tuberculosis or cancer or lichen planus or whatever. They were only taught to identify normal and abnormal. And so the people whom the ASHA said as abnormal were then screened by a medical team. And so we went through this process. We created an ASHA and all the responses were pictorial, mouth, male, female, breast examination, oral cavity, as much as possible was pictorially depicted. So it was easy for the ASHA to use, but the ASHA actually learned to use the tablet. You know, many of them are probably not even 8th class pass, and they all learned to use a tablet. They learned to use a glucometer. They learned to use an electronic sphygmomanometer, and it gave them immense clout in the community. We ensured that they were able to do a breast examination. We ensured they were able to do vaginal examination. They were able to examine the oral cavity, and they had to maintain sterility in between examinations. So we put a ceiling that each ASHA will examine only 1 woman a day. See, the math is 1,000 population under an ASHA. Screen eligible population will be about 350 or 375, out of which half will be male, which means about 150, 175 women have to be examined by the ASHA. And even if the ASHA were to examine 1 person in a day, in a year, the whole population will be screened. But we had to see if the ASHA were capable of doing it. Of all those whom the ASHA said is abnormal, every one of them was seen by a medical personnel. All those whom the ASHA said is normal, 10% of them were re-examined by medical personnel to see if there is fidelity in what the ASHA were doing. And so we went through a course of theory, practical, and then we taught them communication skills about what they should be saying and what they should not be saying, how they should handle questions that they could not answer. And we created a referral pathway. So out of the 212 ASHA, 199 ASHA were eventually trained, and they were able to do very well. We trained and then we retrained, and then we looked at the data, the concordance between what the ASHA said is abnormal and what the health worker said is abnormal, and what the ASHA said is normal, and the health worker re-examined and said is normal, was more than 98%. Hardly any changes had to be made. And so we could say, you know, that the ASHA were willing to do it. We could prove that the ASHA are capable of doing it. The community accepted them. We created a process around which we went into the community, spoke to the leaders, spoke to the political people, spoke to different NGOs to create acceptability. But in the end, the ASHA did a tremendous job, and they were able to show that all of this could be done. But the bigger fact is, out of the 50,000 people who were screened, the compliance rate was more than 90%, more than 95%. And that is remarkable because most screening programs across the world, institution-based screenings have a compliance of anywhere between 5% and 40%, except in countries where insurance mandates screening. And so the math is in favor of training ASHA to do this. Now, what turned out was, out of the 50,000 people whom we screened, we picked up about 200 cancers and pre-cancers, which fits in with the data that we expect. But more importantly, we picked up about 3,000 diabetics and hypertensives. We did not look at ischemic heart disease or stroke or other things. Towards the latter part of the program, we started training ASHA to identify people in need of palliative care. Now, we also introduced a system of taking smears for HPV evaluation. We conducted a comparative program where a health worker would take the HPV sample and the woman would do a self sample, and both the samples were the same. The results were almost the same. So now we are giving women test kits, where they will draw self samples. The advantage with this is it eliminates the need for pelvic examination in the community. Only people who are HPV positive need to be seen. Only about 10% of people in the community turned out to have an abnormal finding when the ASHA examined, and about 10% of the population turned out to be HPV positive. And so the number of people who actually need to be evaluated comes down to a very, very small and manageable number. But then this is a labor intensive and cost intensive program. To be able to go into everybody's home, you have to incentivize the ASHA, you have to provide them equipment, you have to teach them, you have to ensure sterility. So it's a very labor intensive and cost intensive program. And so we were wondering what would happen if we created a blitzkrieg of information in the community. We will use the same ASHA and create awareness in the community and see if it will propel people to self-refer themselves for evaluation should they have any symptoms. So because ultimately screening, I'm not sure is a great way to go about in the country. With a population of 1.4 billion, screening I think is a bad model. What would be effective is early detection and primary prevention in terms of health promotion. And so if we create awareness in the community, will it result in the same? So this is a model that we are currently evaluating in Hailakandi district. Again, a population of about 68,000. We're looking at 35 sub-centers, about 200 ASHA. And the next time I speak to you, I should be able to give you answers on what is happening. The pattern is the same. We are going to create awareness about diabetes, hypertension, breast, cervical, oral cancer. The tablet used is the same. The CBAC form has been modified to include 3 extra questions on bleeding, PR, and constipation and things like that. And the CBAC form is now, so they don't have to duplicate. In the Dholai study, we actually created our own questionnaire, but in Hailakandi, we modified the CBAC form. And so in one shot, they will get the data for the health department, and they will also get the data for further evaluation for cancers and other NCDs. And so this program is currently underway, and we hope to be able to get results. And if it throws up that the identification of cancers is the same in both programs, we could probably do away with physical examination of the entire community and just focus on creating awareness. We also have areas in the Northeast where access is very, very difficult. Dima Hasao is a district with hills and forests. And even on a bike, sometimes it is very, very difficult to access villages in different areas. And so in the third part of the program, we are looking at creating a traveling cancer clinic, where we're looking at as a team of doctors, nurses, awareness for whoever is concerned to travel around different parts of the district on a predefined calendar to cover every one of the 256 sub-centers in a year. And so this is a program which is currently on way in a bid to see if a traveling clinic, instead of creating a fixed clinic, if a traveling clinic could create the same impact. The other thing that we are doing with the community is creating communities for health. See, health awareness, primary prevention, behavior change, these are things which don't need to be doctor driven or a hospital driven. The lay community could very well see if somebody is unwell at home, who takes care of the individual. One of us in the family will take care. We are now a global village. And so as an extended family, each of us is responsible for the wellness of our own communities. And so if we engage with local NGOs, local leaders, anybody who has a stake, schools, principals, college teachers, we should be able to create a large mass of people who are health aware and who have the capability of spreading awareness in the community. And so we are working with Assam Rifles, which is a paramilitary force in the Northeast. We are working with different NGOs. Everywhere we are going about giving them a standard presentation, asking them to go out into their communities and promote health awareness. It has come to a situation where sometimes when our volunteers go, and somebody is chewing tobacco, they will turn around and walk away on the site of the volunteer in the community for health. And so this is a project that we are experimenting with. I don't know what the impact will be. I don't have data to share with you at the moment, but I'm terribly excited about it because I think ultimately, if we have to bring about change in the healthcare scenario in the country, we have to focus on the low-hanging fruit, which is behavior change, primary prevention, early detection, as opposed to screening, where anybody with any symptom will go for screening, and palliative care for a vast majority of people who end up with end-stage cancers or renal failure or cardiovascular diseases or any of those things. Now, while we are empowering people in the community, we also are responsible for empowering our own colleagues, doctors, nurses, dental surgeons, pharmacists. And so as a pilot, we ran a project along with the National Cancer Grid and the Association of Oral Maxillofacial Surgeons of India. They run a fellowship program where they train maxillofacial surgeons for oral cancer work. Oral cancer is one of the commonest cancers in men in the country. And so we ran a one-year program on the COVID taught us many things. We use information technology and we created training modules which had role plays, which had pre-recorded videos, they were teaching material. And once a month, we had a live lecture and a one-on-one conversation. We also had a series of 4 master classes toward the end. And the first cohort of oral maxillofacial surgeons has finished the one-year program of training. We used remote learning tools. We had a whole lot of activities around this. And now at the end of 1 year, a whole lot of them, are more empowered to use oral morphine, are more empowered to assess pain, more empowered to assess symptoms. Most importantly, are very good at communication skills. See, we often hear about many of our doctors and hospitals getting bashed up by, irate patients, caregivers. And I think most doctors have not done anything wrong medically. It is just that they have been poor at communication, which is what results in a lot of unhappiness. And so it is very important that we train our youngsters in the art of communication along with the science of medicine and surgery and whatnot. And so I think using information technology, we can train a whole, there are medical schools, there are dental schools, there are pharmacies, there are non-professional schools and colleges across the country. And we can easily create a stream where we can train many, many people for health promotion, for creating a healthier India in the years to come. I cannot end any presentation without acknowledging what I owe to my mentors, Dr. Krishnamurthy and Dr. Shanta at the Cancer Institute. Dr. Krishnamurthy often used to stress that when a patient does not have resources for his treatment, it is the job of the treating physician to find them. And for Dr. Shanta, it was always everything for every patient. Thank you very much. I thank you all for a patient listening and for giving me this opportunity to talk before you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom and educating us about the importance of underutilized and unexplored domain of health services like primary prevention, education, and palliation model. May I now request Shri Rajendra Kumar Tiwari, President SGPGI-MS and Chief Secretary, Government of Uttar Pradesh, to kindly present virtually the oration plaque to the Foundation Day orator. I request our Director, Professor R.K. Dhiman, to kindly accept the oration plaque on behalf of Dr. Ravi Kannan R.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Moving ahead with the program, I request Shri Alok Kumar, Principal Secretary, Medical Education Department, Government of Uttar Pradesh, to kindly address the august gathering.
Shri R.K. Tiwari, Chief Secretary and President of SGPGI, Dr. R.K. Dhiman, Director SGPGI, Dr. Anish Srivastav, Dean, SGPGI, the Chief Orator for today's function, Dr. Ravi Kannan, who just addressed us, Director of the Kachhar Cancer Hospital Facility and Research Institution, distinguished guests, faculty and students of SGPGI. At the outset, let me congratulate you on your 38th Foundation Day. This institution has been serving the people of UP for 38 years. Not only has it been serving, it has been serving with excellence. And that's very important. And the excellence is not confined to one dimension, but to multiple dimensions, whether it is in the field of patient care, whether it's in the field of research, whether it's in the field of training and mentoring, the next generation of super specialists. On all those counts, this institution has acquitted itself very well. If you look at the 38 years of this excellence, I am reminded of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 50, where it says, Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukrit duskrite tasmat udyoga yujasya yoga karmashu kaushal. This institution exemplifies how people have devoted themselves to excellence and how by devoting themselves to excellence, they have served the people excellently. So congratulations for all that. You and your team deserves all the accolades. On this occasion, I would also like to congratulate all the faculty members and the students who would be facilitated shortly for their outstanding work that they have done over the period of the last 1 year. More power to you, and we wish you all the very best for the future. Having recounted the yeoman service rendered by this institution, it would be also in the fitness of the things to remind ourselves that our success fuels even greater expectations and responsibilities. And in that sense, you are not in a very enviable position because you have set such high standards that people yearn for even better standards. And I'm reminded of Iqbal, who said, "Tu shahi hai, parwaz hai, kaam hai tera, tere saamne आसमां abhi aur bhi hain, सितारों के आगे जहां और भी हैं, अभी इश्क के इम्तिहान और भी हैं." So, gentlemen and ladies, this is not a place to be contented with. We need to rededicate ourselves on this foundation. Would be given is to develop low-cost solutions to problems of patients. We cannot, while we need to keep up with the pace with how the Western medical system is evolving, and we need to ever increase our spending in terms of creating even greater and more sophisticated machines. But for a population of 24 crore people, the model of health which is prevalent in the West may not, we may not be able to find, ever be able to find that much resources to finance that kind of a system. So I would like to place before your consideration, can this institution take leadership in terms of developing low-cost solutions to many of these problems? We find, for instance, in Tirunelveli, there is this institution which develops implants, which are a fraction of the cost of what we do by importing from other countries. For that, we require to go beyond this institution. We need to strike partnership with engineering institutions. We need to find partnership with other institutions, even private sector for that matter. I think we need a much greater focus possibly on that. The second point which I would like to place before your consideration is exactly the point which Dr. Kannan was making. We are a super specialty institution, but we are also the apex health institution in this country, in this state at least. We are 5th in terms of the NIRF ranking all over India, best in the state. 13 out of our 249 faculties find mention in the top 2% influential scientists or influencing their own respective chosen fields. Our DM MCH students and PG students are considered a model in terms of their work ethic, in terms of the excellence in their own fields. We did a wonderful job in COVID, but we still are feeling ourselves or consider ourselves as an institution who need to respond to the patients who come here. We are not going out enough in terms of reaching out with the community and setting up the kind of model that Dr. Kannan was referring to, where from the primary to the secondary to the tertiary, how we can engage the entire health system. That leadership, I would like to see more of that leadership role being placed by this institution. And finally, and the third thing which I would like to say is, many of our processes, both in terms of administrative and financial processes, we are still following 80s and 90s speed. The expectations of the people are far greater than what they were in 80s and 90s and even in 2000s. Can we look at a commensurate speeding up of our processes? This is again a major exercise that needs to be undertaken, but I think these are the 3 points that I thought I would, while Commemoration Day, Foundation Day is a day of joy, of celebrating all the successes, but it is also should be a day of reflection to see how do we achieve the next higher level of excellence. I thought I should put this point before you. From the side of the government, I can only say that we are there with you in all your endeavors, and we are there to facilitate whatever you would like to achieve to the best of our abilities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words. May I request Shri Rajendra Kumar Tiwari, President SGPGIMS and Chief Secretary, Government of Uttar Pradesh, to kindly present annual and research awards to our faculty, residents, and paramedical staff and encourage them. For the annual awards, when we create a building, every brick counts. An institute is run by joint efforts from each section. And we at SGPGIMS respect and appreciate every individual's contribution towards attaining and maintaining power excellence. Every year, the institute recognizes and appreciates our residents and paramedical staff and award them for their outstanding performance. This year, Best Senior Resident in DM Award goes to Dr. Jay Kumar Mayappan from Department of Nephrology. Award goes to Dr. Vandan Rayani from Department of Neurosurgery. Best Junior Resident MD Award goes to Dr. Vasundhara Singh from Department of Transfusion Medicine. Award for Best Nursing Staff, Sister Grade 1, goes to Ms. Rachna Mishra, Department of Neurosurgery, IC. Award for Best Nursing Staff, Sister Grade 2, goes to Ms. Jyoti Kumari, Department of Neonatology. Award for Best Technician, Technical Officer goes to Mr. Dheeraj Singh, Department of Anesthesiology. Award for Best Technician, Medical Lab Technologist goes to Mr. Sunil Tiwari, Department of Transfusion Medicine. One of the pillars of strength of this institute is its contribution towards research in healthcare. Many faculties of this institute have brought laurels and have marked this institute on world stage with their research work. Under the able guidance of our director, Professor R.K. Dhiman, our dean, Professor Anish Srivastava, and faculty in charge research cell, Professor U.C. Ghoshal, we recognize and facilitate research work done by our faculty and students. In continuation of that tradition, the second research day was celebrated yesterday, where more than 200 research papers were showcased. Awards are being awarded in different categories for TSUSE. The first prize in the clinical category has been awarded in the resident category to the senior resident from neurology, Dr. Ankit Gupta. He has done a mentorship under Dr. Professor Vimal K. Paliwal. Second prize in clinical category goes to senior resident from transfusion medicine, Dr. Bharat Singh, under the mentorship of Professor R.K. Chaudhary. Third prize goes to Dr. Soumya Srivastava from medical genetics, under the able guidance of Professor Shubha R. Fatke. In the field of basic sciences, the first prize is backed by Ms. Rajni Sharma, PhD student from Molecular Medicine and Biotechnology Department. She is doing her mentorship under Professor Swasti Tiwari. Second prize goes to Dr. Tripti Lokhande from Department of Transfusion Medicine under the mentorship of Professor R.K. Chaudhary. Third prize goes to Ms. Sushmita Ray, a PhD student from Gastroenterology Department under Professor U.C. Ghoshal. In order to motivate our students to continue with the world-class research, 4 consolation prizes are also being awarded. So may I like to call Dr. Achal Datta from Neurosurgery Department under the guardianship of Dr. Kuntal Kanti Das. Dr. Vamsidhar Viranki from Department of Nephrology under mentorship of Dr. Dharmendra S. Bhaduria. Dr. Charumati Arjunan from Department of Transfusion Medicine under mentorship of Dr. Dheeraj Khetan. Ms. Medha Srivastav, a junior research fellow in Department of Molecular Medicine under mentorship of Professor Swasti Tiwari. Can we have a big round of applause for our students who are the future of our institute? Moving from mentees to mentor, we would now award our faculty for their world-class research. These awards are divided into 3 categories: medical, surgical, and basic sciences, which also includes paraclinical work also. Commencing with the medical specialty, amongst the assistant professor, Dr. Akash Pandita from Department of Neonatology is being awarded the Best Research Paper Award. For associate professor, Dr. Monik Singh Sharma from Department of Pediatric Gastroenterology. For additional professor, Dr. Gaurav Pandey from Department of Gastroenterology. For professor, Professor Ujjwala Ghoshal from Department of Microbiology. In surgical specialty, the award for assistant professor category goes to Dr. Ved Prakash Maurya, Department of Neurosurgery. For associate professor, Dr. Kuntal Kanti Das, Department of Neurosurgery. For additional professor, Dr. Arun Kumar Srivastav, again from the Department of Neurosurgery. For professor, Professor Amit Agarwal from Department of Endocrine Surgery. For basic sciences and paraclinical specialty, the award for assistant professor category goes to Dr. Rohit A. Sinha from Department of Endocrinology. For associate professor, Dr. Prabhakar Mishra from Department of Biostatistics and Health Informatics. For additional professor, Dr. Khaliqur Rahman from Department of Hematology. For professor, Professor Swasti Tiwari from Department of Molecular Medicine and Biotechnology. On behalf of Professor Swasti Tiwari, Ms. Rajni Sharma, her PhD student, will collect the award. Coming to the third category, the State Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization, Uttar Pradesh, along with Department of Hospital Administration, SGPGIMS, conducted a poster making competition to create awareness about organ donation among school-going children. About 23 schools from across Lucknow participated in it, and going through different stages of scrutiny, today we are awarding top 8 students. So the first prize is backed by Akriti Verma, daughter of Mr. Amit Kumar Verma from KV Gomti Nagar School. Second prize goes to Vidushi Singh, daughter of Mr. Vinay Kumar Singh from CMS Station Road School. Third prize is backed by Maharuk Zehra, daughter of Mr. Syed Sharif Kausar from CMS Gomti Nagar School. We have 5 consolation prizes also. I would like to call Joyatri Banerjee, daughter of Mr. Sandeep Banerjee from St. Agnes Loreto Convent. Akriti Samyak, daughter of Dr. Ram Lakhan from CMS Gomti Nagar. Ishu Yadav, son of Mr. Shamsher Yadav from LPS South City. Sapna Kubari, daughter of Mr. UP Sa from KV AMC. Harshvardhan Nath, son of Mr. Aman Nath, LPS South City. Thank you, sir, for giving the awards and for your giving time to them. May I now request Shri Rajan Kumar Tiwari, President SGPGIMS and Chief Secretary, Government of Uttar Pradesh, to address the august audience.
Shri Alok Kumar ji, Principal Secretary, Medical Education, Government of UP. Madam Shri Dr. Ravi Kannan, Director of Kachar Cancer Hospital and Research Institute, Silchar. Professor R.K. Dhiman, the Director of PGI. Professor Anish Srivastav, Dean of the institution. Distinguished faculty members, doctors, residents, students, members of our staff, students from other schools of Lucknow, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me congratulate the director and all of you, all the members of this great family of PGI on the occasion of 38th Foundation Day of the institution. I would also like to use this occasion to congratulate Dr. Ravi Kannan, who has given a brilliant presentation and in a very far-flung areas of Northeast, in a very beautiful and a very serene natural settings. He has contributed immensely for the cause of community health and for the cause of early detection and prevention of cancer. So congratulations to him also. I would also like to congratulate all the winners of different awards, whether they are the faculty members, they are the residents, or the students. These awards show how much they are doing for others. These awards are not something what they have accumulated for themselves, how they have contributed to the society at large by way of their service, by way of their presentations, and by way of the ideas. So a big congratulations to all of them. I wish them all the very best and pray for their continuous growth, development, and engagement for the cause of humanity. Foundation Day of an institution is like the birthday of any individual. It is a most joyous occasion where we celebrate whatever we have achieved. We also wonder over whatever achievements we have made in the past, and we also deliberate and discuss about what is more in store for us in future. 30 years may be a good age for an individual, but for an institution like this, it is still not too old. But whatever in last 37 years the institution has achieved, thanks to the collective efforts of all of us, all of our doctors, all of our staff, paramedics, each and every one of you have contributed to this institution and the reputation which is that it has gained what it is today. I won't like to go into the detailed report which the director presented before you, but there are certain facts which needs to be reiterated. Last more than 1.5 years have been very challenging for the state, for our country, and for the whole world as a whole, because of the onslaught of COVID-19 pandemic that hit each one of us in some way or the other. In this period, it has been shown how the power of working together, how the strategy of working as a team can take upon any major challenge. we were not best in terms of infrastructure. We were not best in terms of the number of doctors per million population. We were not best in terms of even our reach to the community. But when we compare ourselves, what we have done for the COVID management with most advanced nations in the world, I think we need to take pride in what we have achieved. There have been, of course, unfortunate casualties and sufferings. However, with our working together, we have been able to contain it effectively and minimize them. In this regard, particularly our state, Uttar Pradesh, has also done exceedingly well. We started with very modest infrastructure. The testing facilities were bare minimum. In fact, only KGMU that time when the COVID-19 started last year, sometimes in March end, there were hardly any testing facilities. And today we are standing over testing capacities of more than 4 lakhs tests per day or even more. The beds were increased very fast. The ICUs also were increased. And we proved all the pessimists wrong when there was talk last year that with a limited infrastructure, there will be huge damage. The hospitals will be overwhelmed with the number of infected patients, and we would simply find it impossible to treat them. We have been able to collectively work very effectively and kept the damage to the bare minimum. There have been, of course, deaths, but whatever best could be done. And here, I would like to commend the work of all of our medical institutions, including the SGPGI, who work days and nights. I have seen myself how all of you have worked selflessly, sincerely, and tirelessly. There were very limited resources, and I know that many of you worked for 15 hours, 16 hours in a day, but never the split went down at any point of time. And that was the biggest support. That was the biggest support, not just for the state and the state government, but also for the entire people of the state who felt very reassured in the hands of our medical fraternity in the state. Along with the medical fraternity, the government and people of this state also worked together, and the end result was that we could achieve very commendable success all over. I would also like to congratulate you for the recent achievements, securing the 5th rank as per the NIRF rankings. The institution has been continuously upgrading its rankings in whichever rankings are awarded, be it medical research, treatment, hospital administration, biomedical research, or even the telemedicine. During the course of COVID, of course, the OPD numbers came down, and even the indoor patients of non-COVID departments, the numbers did come down. But this year, again, we are looking at almost gaining the same numbers. And by end of this year, I guess, we should be able to achieve the pre-COVID numbers of patients which are being treated. When we talk about premier institutions like SGPGI, it is not just the patient care which matters, as Mr. Alok was talking about. This institution is a leader in its own right, and its job is to ensure that the state medical facilities are also brought to a level where they can, together with this institution, deliver the best quality of the medical care. I'm happy to share with you that the institution has been mentoring and supporting the state medical colleges, state health departments, and doctors all over the state in sharing their experiences, in working on the patient treatment, and also setting up the protocols for different known and unknown and partially known illnesses and diseases. Whenever, even during the course of COVID, whether it was mucormycosis or whether it was different variants of COVID coming in, we always look forward for PGI to come up with the guidelines, protocol, and they never failed us. They always came forward and provided the necessary support whenever it was called for. I would also like to congratulate those 13 may be inauspicious numbers for many, but a very auspicious for us because these 13 people have brought so much good name and recognition to this institution. So again, congratulations to these 13 family members. And I would wish that these 13 members, we have a family of 249 faculty members, and I would dream that this 13 list keeps expanding and increasing, and shortly this should be 30 and 130 and whatnot. So I would like that in the years to come, many more researchers find their name in the list of the eminent scientists. And this institution is recognized as not one of the best in the country, but the best in the country. And I'm sure all of us together can do this. 3 faculty members have already also filed patents. I think we have the potential to do much more. And I'm sure that with the kind of environment that this institution is providing and the commitment that the state government is giving for all kinds of support, we should be able to do much better and much more. There are a few points which I would also like, as I mentioned, that there is also a time to ponder over what more can be done. Now, one is that when we talk about patient referrals, see, as a patient, I mean, when a patient has some symptoms, suppose somebody has a severe headache, now he or she doesn't really know which department to go in or which OPD is meant for him. Normally, such people in institutions have a very strong back-end system of referrals, a strong system of referrals. And when the patients come to these kind of institutions, they already come with some background work, background preparations, which makes it possible to connect them with the right kind of specialists. World over, this kind of trend goes on that mostly a patient would first come to a GP and then accordingly he is allocated which super specialty or specialty he should be referred to. Many times here we find that large number of them are being reporting the symptoms, but it takes time to really find out which is the best department or specialty to treat them. And sometimes this leads to suboptimal utilization of resources. Now, if we can work some kind of protocol with the state health department, other medical colleges, we tried this also during COVID times, but I think this needs to be taken forward so that whenever a patient is coming with the requirement of treatment by a specialist or super specialist, he is already coming with certain background checks, certain tests, reports, and he knows where he or she should go for the best support. Many times it happens even in AIIMS also, we found that a patient comes and a super specialist starts, diagnosing him, and all kind of tests are being made, to only at the end of the day or end of the week to be referred to some other super specialty or some other specialist. So there could be some way to properly target and guide the patients to the desired specialties. The second area which I always keep thinking is about the patients and attendant experience of getting treated in a hospital. Now that is very important, because in any case, going to a hospital with an illness is not the happiest moment in anybody's life. So anybody who comes to a hospital with an illness always comes with a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty when he's going to be well, when he's going to be treated. So every small little thing bothers her a lot. Now, how can we improve upon this experience? Should always be a continuous thought in our mind. Can she be not only just guided, but when she is in the system, seamlessly and smoothly, wherever she has to go, where her tests have to be done, whatever services she has to be provided for, can it be a better experience? That is for us to think about. In this regard, experience of not just interacting with the doctors, but each one of the person who is in the institution matters a lot. And we keep talking about how do we interact with the patients and their attendants. That also becomes a very important part of how well we treat them. In many hospitals and many countries, we have seen standard protocols of monitoring these interactions, communications. And this has really helped these hospitals in a big way to improve upon the very treatment and get much better success rates. And the point that comes to my mind at this stage is that I'm sure we have best of the doctors to treat, and we also have best of the equipments. Of course, new equipments will always be required, and they'll be keep adding. But having best of the equipments and the best of the faculty, can we have this confidence among the people of this state that for any illness, howsoever serious it may be, once we come to Lucknow, or once we come to PGI, or once we come to XYZ Medical College, we are assured of the best possible treatment in the country, if not in the whole world. Can we achieve that kind of confidence? Many times, people say that, "Bhai, isko Delhi le jao, ya isko Mumbai le jao for some treatment." Now, why should that be required? I was wondering. What is that which is still lacking, which we can fulfill, by which we don't even have to think ever to go to any other place for? Of course, there could be very few, very rare cases where those kind of facilities are not available. But generally, for 99.9% of the patients, I think, the state itself should be the last and the best resort of best treatments which can be made available. The role of, I'm very happy that we have given awards to many staff from paramedics also and from non-medical sector also, because I believe that each one of us, whether you are from a paramedical service or whether you are from non-medical service, each one of us contribute immensely for the patient care. Patient is not treated only by few tablets or few incisions of knife, but she is treated holistically by the complete experience that we give her in our institution. Now, that is where I think we need to also devote more time. How can that experience be improved upon? First, we should be able to measure and we should be able to know what kind of level we are working at so far as these kind of support services are concerned, and then continuously work on improving on those services. Research is another area where many of you are working. I keep hearing good stories about your papers being published in some of the best known journals in the world. But I think in research, there can never be, it can never be more than what is required. So there's always a scope to do much more. We must have a vision for the institution. What kind of institution we are wanting to see it 10 years hence, 20 years from now. What kind of technologies we would like to be using, and how are we going to connect with the community for which we are working for. Dr. Kannan also mentioned this. Alok also mentioned this about in his address. But more intimately, we can work with the community. More preventive aspects of the disease treatment, we can focus. I think we can not only reduce the burden on the institution, but we can also provide a big support and support to the society at large. That is also an area where I think we can work more. While we are adding new departments and new faculties, the spirit should always be that are we the best in my field, in my work that I am doing? I'm very happy that many of us are actually the best in many areas that they are working in. But then again, much more remains on our plate to do. The institution can become a major central hub for all the institutions, particularly the government institutions, and even private institutions too, to build them, to work upon them continuously, and so that they also come up to not only our level, but best levels that are achievable. I would like to assure all of you that in this endeavor, the government of Uttar Pradesh would always be with you, and we would not let a scarcity of resources or anything come in the way of you achieving the excellence. We have provided you always the best of the resources, and we are committed to provide you those resources. But then we also need to think about various models of raising resources. How best to raise these resources, working together with the community, working together with the institutions, working together with the patients, companies, and how best to achieve this. We can think about it. At the end, I would like to thank the director, the dean, and all of you for giving me this opportunity to come among you and share my ideas. I would just finish with 4 lines of the famous If poem by Rudyard Kipling. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that is in it, and which is more, you will be a man, my son. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words of appreciation and encouragement. We hope we achieve great heights in field of healthcare facilities in research in future. For concluding the ceremony, I would request Professor Anish Srivastava, Dean, SGPGIMS, to give vote of thanks.
So all that begins comes to an end. Shri Rajen Kumar Tiwari ji, the Chief Secretary of the State and President, Padam Shri Dr. Kannan, the Foundation Day orator, Mr. Alok Kumar, the Principal Secretary, Medical Education, Professor R.K. Dhiman, the Director, our esteemed and distinguished guests sitting in the audience, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure as I propose the vote of thanks to a lot of people who have done hard work and made this a successful event. Let me begin by thanking our chief guest, Shri Rajen Kumar Tiwari ji, whom you have just now heard how nicely he has critically analyzed our past, present, and given us directions for the future and hopes. A big thank to you, sir, especially. Big round of applause. He has always been with us through the thick and thin. I also thank Mr. Alok Kumar for gracing the occasion and taking time out of his busy schedule and giving us words of wisdom. I am particularly moved by the inspiring inspiration and oration of Padam Shri Dr. Ravi Kannan, who has paved us a way forward to helping people in the rural settings. It's a great insight which we all knew, thought, and felt, but we have seen somebody doing it. That is what is the great thing, and we are really thankful to you, sir. We have taken a lesson from him. Today is the moment where I take the opportunity to express thanks to the entire SGPGI team. That's the faculty colleagues, the resident doctors, nurses, technologists, patient helpers, attendants, sanitary staff, social, biomedical waste team, and other groups of employees in the institute. This is not only for today's function, but also for fighting the COVID and taking care of non-COVID patients simultaneously. They were and are the true unsung heroes. My special thanks to the administrative staff of the respective sections for extending all the help for organization or any wherever we felt like, and they are the most helpful persons. I would also like to thank the projection, the hall management, the audiovisual, air conditioning, electrical, and event management team for bearing with us with our tantrums sometimes and unreasonable requests as well, just to make this function successful. I would like to thank our media colleagues for covering this event for us. Ladies and gentlemen, the Institute is not built in a day. Today, we stand tall on the shoulders of our predecessors who gave current shape to the Institute the way it is today. I thank each one of them. Finally, I thank our dynamic director, Professor Dhiman, for his untiring zest. And he always round the clock works towards improving the institute holistically and for taking this organization to greater heights. At the end, I seek forgiveness for the names I may have missed out. And once again, thank you all. You have graced your presence. Thank you very much.
May I request all of you to please rise for the national anthem? Thank you. Now, there is a provision of tea in adjoining lecture theatre complex. I request all of you to kindly join for the same.